Well, hi, and welcome to another LRCC Soundbite. We're going to continue our look at some of the oldest stories in the Bible. Last week, I introduced you to Esau and Jacob, two twin brothers. This week, we're going to look a little bit closer at Jacob. You see, Jacob, although he was the younger, he was also a bit devious and had tricked his brother out of his rights as the eldest to inherit from their father. And he also tricked his father to give him, Jacob, the special blessing. Yet this devious guy was going to be the next in the line of families in God's big rescue plan for us all. You can probably imagine that after Jacob doing these things, his brother wasn't particularly impressed. In fact, to the extent that he wanted to find him and kill him. So Jacob left in a little bit of a hurry. His father Isaac had hoped that he would marry, would marry from within their own people. So he told Jacob to head north to his grandparents on his mum's side. Jacob wasted no time and got away. He had to travel nearly 500 miles, so this wasn't just a short journey. It would have taken several weeks. Probably just a few days after leaving his home, Jacob reached a place and decided to rest for the night. He lay down under the stars, rested his head on a rock and went to sleep. And as he slept, he began to dream. In his dream, he saw something that looked like a stairway that stretched all the way from heaven right down to earth. These stairs weren't empty though. There were angels on the stairs. They were going up and down, messengers from God, doing the things that God had told them to do. And there, stood next to the stairs, was God. And as Jacob dreamt, God promised Jacob that he was going to have many, many descendants, and that through his family, God was going to bless the whole earth. Suddenly, Jacob woke up, frightened. He said to himself, "This place must be a gateway between heaven and earth, and God is here." Early the next morning, he took the stone that he'd rested his head on and made it into a kind of altar for God. Right there and then, he promised God that he would always follow him if God stayed with him and looked after him. This was a massively powerful moment for Jacob. Up to now, he hadn't had this kind of direct contact with God. His father and his grandfather had, and they would have told Jacob all about it. But this was Jacob's moment. And I think this changed him. It didn't make him perfect. There were still plenty of things in the rest of Jacob's story that weren't great. But it did become something of a turning point for him. I wonder, what are those things that happen in our lives that are turning points for us? For Christians, one of those turning points is always going to be that moment where we realise who Jesus is and we commit to follow him. You know, it can be easy to hear stories about Jesus being born as a baby, living and dying on a cross, but there comes a moment where that becomes more than just a story for us. A moment when we realise that we are loved and cared for by the one who created the whole universe. That he, Jesus, died because I have done things wrong. But that death was amazing because when he died, that meant that I can be forgiven for all the wrong things I've done. But then Jesus' death wasn't the end, because he came back to life again and still lives today. Following his teachings is only one part of it. The best bit is being able to get to know him and count him as the best friend you could ever have. I'd love to be able to tell you more about it. If you'd like to explore it, do get in touch. You're always welcome to email me or come and see us one Sunday afternoon. You know, maybe nothing more than a conversation could be a moment that becomes a turning point in your life. After all, what harm is there in a conversation? God bless you. I'll see you next week.